So I want to make a quick video today talking about the Las Vegas Raiders. Since news in the NFL is probably going to be pretty sparse from here on out until training camp begins, I'm probably going to do a lot of these type of videos of just like addressing current state of teams and talking about like their potential. First, I want to talk about some recent news about Davante Adams. He was recently on a podcast with Max Crosby, and he added a very interesting quote, is that the moment I stepped into the building, it was way more competitive than we were in Green Bay. I just think that's a really, really interesting quote. In general, like, Green Bay has obviously had a lot more success in the past 20 years than the Raiders. So for Davante Adams to say that, what I think he really is trying to say is the Raiders and the organization as a whole is a lot more hardcore and have a deeper passion and fire to win, commitment to excellence. Al Davis, just win, baby. So there probably is more of a fire in the building of the Raiders than Green Bay. And I think Green Bay, especially with Aaron Rodgers, with Brett Favre, and now with Jordan Love, they kind of didn't really have to dig deep in the past 20 years because they just relied on their pure talent. I really think Green Bay has gone in really, they've been really fortunate the last 30 years to have good quarterback play. And, Wisconsin, Green Bay, I know it's definitely a hardcore fan base, but with the Raiders, there's just more of an aura there. There's more of a legacy of Al Davis, John Madden, Casper, all those legends from back in the day. Obviously, Green Bay, you got Bart Starr, Vince Lombardi, of course, but I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting quote just because the Raiders really haven't been successful at all the last 20 years, and Green Bay has had pretty much everything the past 20 years. So just a interesting thing right there. I'm sure Green Bay Packer fans and the organization as a whole probably isn't too happy about that, but just a very, very interesting quote from Davante Adams. Other Raiders news, they recently signed Michael Gallup to a 1-year, $3 million deal. I think this is a decent signing. He's definitely a nice piece to add to the wide receiver room there. Yeah, I definitely like this signing. He has shown flashes in the past to be a competent 3 on an offense. So right now you got Davante Adams, Jacoby Myers, Michael Gallup. So not a bad receiving room. Not bad at all. I want to take a quick second to also talk about what they did in the first round, drafting Brock Bowers. I thought this was definitely one of the most interesting selections in the first round, just because Brock Bowers fell, and because the Raiders already have Michael Mayer. So they have 2 really good tight ends right now, and don't be surprised if they run a lot of 2 tight end packages for this upcoming year. Because Michael Mayer, he didn't show a lot last year, but he showed flashes of being good, and he definitely has a ceiling to be a good receiving tight end. Now you add in Brock Bowers, that's pretty exciting, especially if you're Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew. 2 elite tight ends for not the most talented guys. I think that's a really good thing because most of the time with offenses, tight ends are usually safety blankets. So to have 2 good safety blankets for whoever is going to be the quarterback this year, I just think that's a really good deal. And yeah, man, who knows? Maybe a dark horse for Offensive Rookie of the Year. You never know. I know tight ends recently, high draft pick tight ends like Kyle Pitts, way back, Eric Ebron, haven't really panned out super well. Even though Kyle Pitts did have a lot of receiving yards his first year, they still haven't really lived up to the hype. Usually tight ends drafted that early don't live up to the hype, but who knows? You know, it's a new day and age in the NFL. So if you're a Raiders fan, be excited for Brock Bowers. I definitely would be. Again, a dark horse for Offensive Rookie of the Year for sure. As a whole, this Raiders offense is not too bad on paper. The only thing about it is the quarterback position and the running back position. I don't really like the running back room right now, with Alexander Madison being the lead back as of today. So who knows? Maybe some guy will emerge during training camp, but it's definitely a weak point in the offense. Now I want to talk about the quarterback position. I just think the Raiders have definitely had an interesting offseason when it comes to their quarterback room. They definitely wanted to get Kirk Cousins. They just lost out to the Falcons on that. I think if Kirk Cousins was on the Raiders right now, that would be a very, very, very intriguing team. Like that'd be a fun team to watch. I feel like the Raiders would definitely be back in the playoffs, or if not the playoffs, like one game out. But instead, they settled for Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. Gardner obviously had a good year last year, but for him to replicate his success in Indy from a year ago, I don't know. I feel like that's kind of like lightning in a bottle like twice. I really don't think he'll be as good as he was a year ago, but you never know. Like, he's not a bad guy. He's really accurate. He's just... We'll see. I really don't know what to say about Gardner Minshew. Fun guy, good leader. Everyone loves him, but, you know, I think the Raiders definitely wanted to draft a quarterback. It's just... They had the 13th overall pick, you know. Michael Penix went, J.J. McCarthy went, Bo Nix went. Michael Penix on the Raiders would have been insane. I really would have been interested in buying a lot of stock in the Raiders if Penix did go to the Raiders, because that would be really, really exciting. I just think that would be a perfect fit. A lot of deep balls, a lot of exciting offense, a lot of big plays. I mean, that's what the Raiders are all about, or what they were about in the 80s. And whatnot. So before I get out of here, I just want to make one little note. I got a comment on one of my recent videos about the Cowboys potentially trading Dak to the Raiders, and I just thought that was really interesting because I never really thought about that before. So shout out to that guy. I think Dak to the Raiders is definitely a realistic landing spot. I mean, even right now I could picture Dak so clearly in a Raiders uniform right now. The number 4, all black. I just think he fits in with the Raiders. I think they're definitely going to be in the market for a legit quarterback. This year concludes. And the Cowboys will probably be looking to move him, right? Because, again, to pay Dak Prescott is not the move, but I just think that would be a really good fit, and I think that would be just great for the NFL because the Raiders would officially be back. You know, it's a legacy franchise. The Raiders have a lot of history, man, and they've been bad for a long, long, long time. So, obviously, I'm not saying the Raiders would win a Super Bowl with Dak, but they would definitely be more competitive than they've been in most recent years. And Dak Prescott, Davante Adams, you know, Brock Bowers, that's a lot of fun to watch, honestly. That's a lot of fun to watch. So let me know what y'all think. How good do you think the Raiders are going to be this year? Do you think they're going to do anything? Thoughts on Gardner Minshew, Brock Bowers? And what about Dak to the Raiders in 2025? I think that's very, very interesting. So let me know what y'all think. That's all I got for right now. Peace.